Now, almost every church that I work with uploads their sermons each and every week to YouTube, and they upload lots of other videos onto their YouTube channel as well. But one thing that I see over and over again is churches not knowing how to use YouTube analytics, and specifically what they should be measuring on their YouTube channel. Well, in this video, we want to get in front of the computer and break it all down. Let's do this. Hey guys, I'm Thomas Costello. I'm the founder here at ReachRight, and each week we put out multiple videos of content just like this designed to help pastors and church leaders reach more people and grow. So if this is the kind of content that you're interested in, it would mean a lot to me if you would hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments if you have any other questions you want us to cover on one of our future videos. Now, like I said initially, most churches are doing a good job of putting content onto YouTube on a somewhat regular basis. We're preaching sermons on Sundays, and usually for most churches by Monday, that sermon is up. But one thing that I consistently see that churches tend to miss is we don't really know what we should be looking at or measuring when it comes to our YouTube videos. I want to pull back the curtain and show some of the things that I've learned over the years here at ReachRight, helping our own YouTube channel and lots of other churches growing their YouTube channel. And I want to show you some of the things that you should be looking at in YouTube analytics if you want to get serious about growing your audience on YouTube. So let's head over to the computer and we'll dive in. Okay guys, well, hey, I'm back here at the computer this time, and I am in the YouTube studio for a church account. One of the services we offer here at ReachRight is we help churches manage the SEO side of things for their YouTube accounts. And so this is a brand new church client that we just took on. So we haven't really had a lot of chance to make any improvements here yet, but I figured it would be a good one for us to dive into because it probably looks like a typical church's YouTube channel here. So there's not huge numbers. There's not tens of thousands of subscribers or anything like that. So you'll see some of those basic numbers that are on here. So before we get any deeper and get into the exact metrics we need to be measuring, I wanted to take a second to walk you through some of the things that you'll see here in YouTube Studio. So this is the place that you'll want to go when you want to see your church metrics. When you first get on here, the place that you'll want to go is into the YouTube Studio. And the way that you find that is down on the very bottom of your panel when you're on your YouTube channel or just logged into YouTube as your church, is you'll find down here, there's the YouTube Studio. You can click on that and that's what takes you into the actual studio here, and you can see all of this. And so most of the time when we're in this, we're gonna spend most of our time in the analytics tab. We'll get to that in just a second. There's some things you may wanna take a look at, like your comment section. That's obviously pretty important. If for some reason you've chosen to turn on earning or monetization on your YouTube channel, you would go into there. That is really important to know some metrics on that. I will say this, most churches don't turn it on. There is some anecdotal evidence that if you can turn on monetization, that you will get more views, and it makes sense that YouTube wants to show their videos to channels that will have ads on them, and therefore they'll make money, you'll make money, and everybody wins. I haven't seen a lot of evidence that there's a major difference in the two, but just so you know, that's there for you. Just a little bit of a little insight on that. So anyway, we're gonna spend most of our time today in this analytics tab. So I'm gonna click on over to there. What we're looking at here is a full range of different analytics and metrics and numbers that churches can be looking at. But here's the thing, is most of it probably isn't really that helpful to you. It's not things you should spend a lot of time stressing over. There's really just a few elements that are important, but knowing these numbers and knowing what's working on YouTube is going to lead you to make better decisions in the future on what's working and what isn't. And I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to change the content of what you're preaching based on what's doing best on YouTube, but there are some situations where, let's say your church is doing a lot of YouTube shorts. You're taking your sermon content that you're already doing And maybe you want to know, hey, what kind of content is really resonating on YouTube Shorts? Well, you might be able to pull out some of this kind of data in here. So it really is important to see that. And then generally speaking, you want to know that your momentum on YouTube is going in the right direction. So there's several things you want to look at to see if things are heading in the right way or if they're heading in the wrong way, and we need to make some course corrections in how we're doing stuff. So in this video, I'll talk a little bit about what you should be measuring, and then I'll give you a little bit of advice on what you can do to make improvements in some of those areas as I see fit, and we go through things here. So the number one metric that everybody looks at, that it's actually a public metric, and you can see these numbers, is the number of views. So there's a few ways that we can look at that. Number one, you'll see the overall views that your channel gets. By default, when you log into Google Analytics, it's going to be a 28-day view, but you can clearly get in here and change that if you want to see how many views your channel has got over its lifetime. This church has been doing it for since April of 2020, and they've had 107,000 views over that time. So, man, you talk about something that can make a big impact. Like, it's something that we get kind of bogged down in. Well, yeah, that video got 40 views. It was kind of a bummer, but you do these things consistently, and a few years later, it's 107,000 different views that are happening. Now, the thing to mention about views on YouTube is that every single view is counted. This means that someone who watches your video for 3 seconds and someone watches your sermon for 38 minutes, they're counted just the same in a view. There's no difference in this number at all in how long they actually watch this. But it still is one of the most important metrics for you to look at, because it unpacks how many actual people are having some kind of interaction with one of your videos. So, like I said, there are two different ways that you can take a look at these numbers here. So I want to show you the two different ways here. I'm going to put it back at the last 28 days because there's an interesting thing happening on this channel right now. Is you'll notice here that when you look at the views, you see kind of the general number, but you can hit the see more button, and then it takes you into a bigger view of it where it shows, I believe this is your top 50 videos over the last month. And this church, like a lot of other churches, I found this to be pretty common, is there's one message or maybe two messages that get the vast majority of all the views. So in this case here, there is one sermon that was, I think, a little bit over a year old on this one here, that's responsible of over 1,000 of the 1,700 views. So like 60% of all the views are coming from this one video, 61.9% specifically. And then you can see a breakdown of everything else. Usually that's going to be your most recent weekly sermons, because the value of videos generally degrade over time. There's an initial push to promote it to your audience, and then that fades away unless you do some things to make the video relevant going forward. So all that to say, you can see both views of individual videos and views as a whole are two important metrics to be tracking. So I will show you this too, that on the actual views here, you can always click this total button, and then you see a nice graph version of how many total views your channel is getting. So, in this particular case here, they're getting 89 views on a Sunday. Usually what churches see is there's a Sunday spike pattern. So on Sunday here, I believe that was a Sunday, right? Yeah, today's a Tuesday that we're doing this. So September the 24th was 2 days ago. Yeah, so Sunday spike is what they're seeing on this here. That's really common. In a lot of ways, it makes more sense when you're looking at big picture to do a weekly view, and you can kind of see the general trajectory of things, because you don't have those Sunday spikes worked in. Every week has one Sunday in it. And so you can see that so far, this isn't too bad of a week. Just 2 days into it, they're doing okay. But you see they had a really big spike back at the beginning of this month here. So just some things to watch. You want to be looking at your views. That's an important metric there. You want to be keeping an eye on your overall watch time is another very important metric to be looking at. I would argue that watch time is probably the primary metric that most churches should be taking a look at, because it indicates a real level, it's views plus the amount of time people stay engaged with those views there. So you can see that there's a lot more variance on this here. So during the week, this church is averaging about 11, 10, hours per day in their actual watch time, but then that spikes all the way up to 51 hours on Sunday, which makes sense if a church is posting their sermons on Sunday and people that miss church, or maybe they only watch online, they're going to be seeing that. So you see about a 5 times increase on Sunday each week, and they had that same Sunday spike. Same thing goes as before. You can actually go ahead and hit that See More tab, and then you'll be able to see an actual breakdown of which videos are getting the most watch time. So no surprise, it's that same video that's getting the most watch time on things, but there's other videos like the weekly worship videos, and some of the other past ones are all on here. But you definitely want to take a look at this. This is a really good metric to be watching to see what kind of content on YouTube is performing the best, because the number of people that view it, that has a lot more to do with the titling and some of the image that you used. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. The watch time actually has to do with how solid the content is on the actual site there. So best thing to look at is taking a look at watch time, something definitely to measure. So you also want to be taking a look at your subscriber growth. So we'll go ahead and take a peek at that here real quick. That is the third tab when you're on this. The subscribers that you'll see on things here. So it shows you, again, a general view. Now, the thing about subscriber growth, this is showing you the number that you've added, or in some cases on this site, subtracted on a given day. So same thing, we can go ahead and hit the See More button. I'm gonna go hit the total. Now, with subscribers, I generally encourage churches to back it out a little bit, because especially as a newer or starting channel on YouTube, you're not going to be seeing big numbers of subscribers every day. So what I would recommend is take a step back at least 90 days and then change this from a daily view to a weekly view, and you'll get a better understanding of where things kind of are sitting. So, for this church here, you can see that over the last 90 days, they had some really good weeks. This 1 week alone, they added 24 new subscribers to their account here. But so far this week, not off to a great start. They lost 1 subscriber. Don't be afraid to lose subscribers. That's something that's going to happen over time. People will follow you not knowing the kind of content you're putting out, especially when you have one video that is a really big performer. They'll tend to realize that maybe this isn't the kind of content I want to follow. It's just something that happens. We lose subscribers here at ReachRight. You will too as a church. So don't let it discourage you with that. Interestingly, it's also important to take a look at which videos themselves are generating subscribers for your church. And so for that, I would back it out even further and take a bigger look at things. So this particular church, again, no surprise, but they have 176 subscribers. So 63% of their subscribers in the last year have come from this one video. Again, that's very common, that one video is very likely to bring a lot of your overall subscribers on things here. So don't let that scare you or anything. That's pretty normal, but you'll start to notice some patterns. Hey, this video, "The Lord Sees the Motive of Your Heart" was the name of this particular video. It was a short video. Looks like it was probably a short, or it doesn't look like it was set up properly as a short, but anyway, it got 4 subscribers there, which is interesting here on 824 views, not a ton of watch time, which makes me think that this probably was a short video, and you can see that it looks like it's in a vertical format there. So anyway, that is a growth hack, by the way. YouTube Shorts are a killer way right now to grow your subscriber base. It's kind of like a cheat code. You want to take a look at that. So anyway, but those are the 3, I'd say, primary essential metrics that every church should be taking a look at. I wouldn't get bogged down on it. Don't go on here every day and see what's happening, but I would make a calendar event once a month at least to take a look at this and do a little bit of a deep dive into which direction are things going, and did any videos kind of take off in this time, and what can we do? Case in point, these shorts, they tend to do well. Can we make a short around this topic? Will it get us some more traffic on things here? Will it get us some more watch time, more subscribers? Because what these all mean in the end, anybody, whether they watch for a long time or they subscribe, what this does is it increases their likelihood that the YouTube algorithm is going to show them videos again in the future. So that's really what this is all about. It's a chance to reach people again with the same message that you're putting out there. So, all right, so those are the essential 3. Beyond that, I want to highlight some of the engagement metrics that you want to be taking a look at. What you're going to do is you're going to change it from whatever metric it's filtering it by and go into more metrics, and you see all these different metrics. This is a product from Google, right? So that's why there are, I don't know, 60 different metrics you can filter things by. There's more things that you would never really need to take a look at as a church that you shouldn't even really concern yourself with. So like pending commissions, don't worry about it. End screen elements shown. Yeah, I mean, I could see a case if you have 10,000 plus subscribers, that might be interesting, but not something you need to worry about. But something that you do want to look at is down here in your interactions, some of these kinds of things here. So we have specifically on this one, we have likes, dislikes, likes versus dislikes, shares, and comments added. So I would call all of these, I'd call these your engagement metrics. These are things to measure how engaged people are and willing to kind of have conversation with you, which is a huge part of having a successful YouTube channel for a church, I would say. So when we go into this, we can go ahead and filter it by number of likes. Again, we're going to see the same thing, that one video is responsible for the majority of the likes. It wouldn't surprise me, I haven't looked at this yet, but I imagine that one video is also probably responsible for most of the dislikes. Let's take a look. Yeah, only one, but that's good. But it was the only dislike this church had, so that's a good thing. But it's anytime you see a lot of traffic on one particular video, it's going to have the lion's share of everything. So this is something you want to be measuring in general, but then also what you'll want to do is do the total again. So you can take a look at some of the totals on things, and you'll see that over the last 28 days, this is by dislikes here still. So we're going to change this back to likes, and then you can see over the course of the month, this is the number of likes that we got each day. Again, because this isn't a big number, I generally would like to back this out a little bit and take a bigger picture look at the chart. So we'll change it over to a weekly view, and then you can kind of see that, oh, well, we obviously had a spike back here in August, the end of the month there. What was going so right for us back in August? Why were we getting some of these? You can dig into some of that, take a look at what happened in this particular video. Was there something we released right at that time that generated a lot of likes? These are the kind of questions you can answer. So now, one of the biggest things you want to be looking at was this more metrics, and you want to be watching your comments added. So the number of times people are commenting on some of your content. So when we keep that same view, comments are going to be much lower than likes, and that makes sense. Think about it. Like, I don't really ever comment on people's YouTube videos if I think about just the way that I do things. Now, I encourage you to do it. Don't take that as a reason to not. Please do comment if you have any questions on this video. That does mean a lot to us. But I rarely comment on things, and I think most people are like me. Comment is something that is somewhat rare. A like is something I will do, but commenting is different. So this is really a great metric to take a look at, and you can see that, again, same video is producing that same number, the most comments on things. But it's something you want to be watching because it shows you a good metric of how willing people are to interact with you on your channel. One of the sure ways to increase number of likes and comments is, number one, ask for it. And then number two, you want to actually respond to every comment that people put on your site. If you're a new channel, and let's say you have under, I'd say 3,000 subscribers or so, every time you put out a video, if someone comments, even if it's someone disagreeing with you, take the time to respond to their comment, because that will generate more comments and it'll help them see more of your videos in the future there. So now the one exception is someone's being just rude or being obscene or, spouting atheist doctrine or something like that. Just delete it. You don't have to deal with those kinds of comments, but any comment that you're going to leave on your site, especially as a smaller channel, you want to make sure you respond to that in a timely manner. Is a really good way to grow that. So one other engagement metric that I think is really important, and one of the ones that you actually have surprisingly the most control over, is your click-through rate on things. So I want to take a second to look at that. Here it is on the right-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and filter it by that category. Now, this is one thing where you will not typically see your top viewed video showing up first there. You'll see all kinds of other videos because this is a ratio. And what this means is that every time that YouTube shows the video to someone, what is the percentage of time that someone clicks on that when they're just seeing it in their YouTube app, right? So it doesn't mean like if someone is going to your video on search or you embed it on your website, but if they are shown it, how often are they clicking through? So this channel as a whole has a 4.8% click-through rate. So every time they show a link to one of their videos, so that means like the thumbnail and the title of the video, every time they show that to someone, 4.8% of the time, so about 1 out of 20 times, someone will be engaged enough to click on it and start a view on that. And some videos do better than others. So this one, usually some lower number ones will be outliers on this here. So this video had 1 view and it was shown twice. But as you get up here further, so this Sunday worship one, for instance, you'll see it had 852 impressions over the last 90 days. And it had 9.3% click-through rate. So almost 1 out of 10 people are clicking through on this. So here's the secret sauce when it comes to click-through rate. The only thing that affects your click-through rate is the titles that you give your videos and the thumbnails that you choose. So the key part of YouTube SEO that everybody has to understand is that titles and thumbnails matter more than anything. What you do is every time someone does a search on YouTube or one of your videos is shown on the YouTube algorithm, you are competing with many other videos out there for someone's click. If someone puts in like this one, for instance, that had a high click-through rate, if you're a half-hearted Christian, you need to hear this. So listen, this is something that is a very engaging title. It kind of is challenging a little bit, a half-hearted Christian. Who are they calling a half-hearted Christian? And then you see this thumbnail where it says we must go all in. Great example of a well-done thumbnail that is a corresponding thumbnail to whatever the title of the video is. So this is one of the real tricks that I see on things here is making your thumbnails close-ups of people's faces. You want to get tight in on someone's face. And then also you want it to be something that isn't the same as the title, but it's a nice companion to the title, maybe adding more intrigue to make someone want to click on it. So it's no surprise to me that the highest click-through rate, other than this one that had 2 impressions and 1 view, the highest click-through rate is the one that they invested at some point the most time in building a really great thumbnail and having a intriguing title on things here. So you have that same kind of control. The way you measure that is through the click-through rate on the site here. So those are some of the engagement metrics we want people to take a look at. All right, so next up is we want to start to take a look at something we would call the audience insights. There are things that you can learn about the people that are watching your videos and the people that are most interested in your content is what that means, by taking a look at the demographics and the information that's on your YouTube analytics page. And this is all right here in this same view. So I'm going to go back to just filtering by the most common thing. Again, we'll go back to views and we'll see that. We'll leave it on this big chart here. But what we're going to take a look at is some of these different options we have up here. So this church, you can actually take a look at the geography. Where are people mostly watching their videos? And it makes sense. This is an American church, so it is predominantly being watched in the United States, but it's also being watched in other English-speaking countries like Canada, Australia, South Africa, the United Kingdom, and then it gets into Germany. So one non-English speaking country on this list, unless you count Canada, of course, which has they speak French as well too in parts. So anyway, that's something that's interesting. Generally speaking, for churches, that won't be too interesting because you'll find that most of them should be in your home country. You will sometimes find that if you hit on certain topics, certain places in the world we do notice tend to have an affinity for certain topics. So you'll notice some of that kind of content. You can also go into cities to see where people are that are watching your videos. So this is a church that is in Tennessee, so most of their video watchers are right there, and I think you'll find that most of the time. But it is pretty interesting, I think, for most churches to see what are the suburbs or other big areas where we may have some presence, and maybe we feel like we're too far out of town to be reaching people in town, but then you'll start to see that, hey, we are reaching people in this city. So very good to know who you're able to reach there. Here's a very important one, is your viewer age. You can kind of see some of those demographics and what happens there. Now, you need a certain amount of people to be able to actually see this content, and so don't take this as 0 people from 25 to 34 are watching these videos. Chances are it's just not enough to be reporting, and that the lion's share of people watching these videos are older at this particular church. And that's something that they probably, knowing this church, they probably want to see some change with. They'd rather it not be mostly 65 plus watching their videos. And I'm sure they would love to reach some 20 somethings and 30 somethings and young families, and gosh, even people up to their mid 40s aren't really watching many of their videos here. So you can kind of see who is most likely to be watching. You can see the average view duration does tend to go up as people get older and that they watch more of the videos there. And so this particular church, you can see the age demographics that are there. Very important information for you to know. And you probably, as we're helping this church, like I said, this is a new customer of ours here at ReachRight. We're helping them. They probably want to do some things to start to reach a younger audience online. Nothing wrong with reaching an older audience, but they probably want to do some things to broaden the horizons on this. Also, you can take a look at the gender. You can see, is it predominantly female, male? So this is about a 60-40 split at this church, but that might be something that's interesting to you to see, are we more appealing to men or to women? And maybe you want to make some course corrections around that and appeal to other people based on that. So generally speaking, I think this is going to affirm and give you some insight on things that you maybe kind of had a hunch about, but you weren't really sure on. And this will kind of confirm what you're seeing with that. So also, I will say this, when you have a smaller sample size, it is usually, you shouldn't put too much stock in these percentages, because if it's a small number of views, it can be really skewed quickly on things. If you're a really small church and you're getting 20 views a month, well, you might see an 80-20 split on this, but I think you probably need a few hundred views a month at least to start to see some real information in the statistics on this. So that's interesting. Also, you may want to be taking a look at this one here, which is the subscription status. Most churches will find that the vast majority of their people that are watching, or the amount of time they're spending, are not subscribed to their site. That's the case for most channels. So actually, I'll mention this here now. Here at ReachRight, the vast majority of you that are watching this video are not subscribed, and that really is an important thing to us. So if you have a second, and if we've earned it at this point in the video, it would mean a lot to me if you would hit that subscribe button and keep following us here. We do new content like this all the time. So that's something that might be interesting to you. It might be important to have maybe little edits in your video, or maybe you do an intro or outro on your videos that invite people to subscribe. That's one thing we've learned, is that people are more likely to subscribe to your channel if you ask them to subscribe to your channel. So obviously you don't want to be saying that every Sunday from the pulpit, telling people that are online to subscribe on YouTube. So you wouldn't do it there. But if you're filming an intro and outro to your video, that might be the place to do something like that. So that's some of the audience insights that you want to be taking a look at. So as we've covered that, those are the primary things that I'd be looking at. I would set a calendar date every month that I'm going to look at these metrics the same time every month, and you can make some assessments on, hey, which direction are we going? How are things working? And to that end, I wanted to give you a few little tips, I guess, that I'd call them like optimization strategies, things that your church can do to get better results when it comes to YouTube. So the first one is just general SEO practices. We have a whole video that I am going to put here in the cards on the top. You're going to be able to click on that. We have a complete outline to exactly how we help our clients, and you can help you too, if you would like to do it on your own, to be able to do YouTube SEO and to optimize your videos to get the most views on YouTube. So you'll definitely want to watch that. I won't spend too much time giving you a deep breakdown on that, but here's what really matters. Again, we said thumbnails, video titles, and then also focusing on those video descriptions and making sure you're using the right keywords on your titles and in your descriptions there. So, so many churches use bad titles for their sermons on YouTube. The titles are great for Sunday morning. They're great for, marketing and tying in with your series and the theme that's going on there. But generally speaking, you want to choose search-friendly topics when you're choosing titles. So don't make the mistake of calling your sermon July 14th Sermon Pastor Ed. That's not a good title for this. And you probably saw that this church had a history of doing some of that kind of stuff earlier in this video. That's something you want to watch out for. What you do want to do is think about what is that central theme of the message, and then ask yourself, what would people search on Google or on YouTube to find a video or to find answers to that question there? So maybe you just start with a YouTube search, or you start with a Google search. And sometimes when you do a search on YouTube, it'll do some suggestions for you. So it might mention things that you may want to look for that are like this. And that's a good indicator that people are searching for that same topic there. So focus on SEO. Always encourage people to like, subscribe, just like I did in this video. You should have an intro and outro that does that. And then one other thing that you can do is turn your series into playlists. That's a really great hack that we're seeing a lot of churches get growth from, is every time you do a series, give it a search-friendly title. It doesn't have to be the same title you're using at church, but turn it into a playlist so that someone can actually watch the entire series start to finish. I think it just makes for a better experience for people, and you will pick up maybe not a ton of views. Don't expect you'll get thousands of new views the first week, but it's something that you'll start to see the views kind of trickle in over time. And if you have a habit of turning every sermon and putting it into a playlist over the course of 2 years, you have 100 sermons in playlists. You probably have a dozen or 24 playlists that are out there. And so it really is a great launching off point, and you'll start to see these things kind of snowball there. So again, as far as other things you can do, next steps, hit the subscribe button for us. We do content like this every single week, and you won't want to miss the stuff that we're putting out there. We really design it to help pastors, church leaders, and especially people who are in the area of church communication and church growth. We want to help churches grow. We want to make you better at what you do there. So hit the subscribe button. Also, take a look at some of our other video content. We have tons of stuff on this topic to help you grow your YouTube channel, or really help you grow on any social platform. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.